Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you for joining us here today. The men and women standing here today proudly wear the uniform of the Troy Police Department. They daily, willingly place themselves in harm's way to make the city of Troy a great place to live, work, and visit. They join nearly 900,000 law enforcement officers nationwide who sacrifice their safety and serve with distinction and great success in reducing crime in our communities. I'm going to ask you to stand for the posting of the colors and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Detail, present, fire. Detail, mark time, mark. Up, turn. Detail, halt. Present, arm.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Detail, order, arm. Ceremonial rest. Order, arm. Ceremonial rest.
Chaplain Stover.
Would you pray with me, please? O God of grace, be with us today, for we have gathered to remember those who have gone on ahead of us. Today we remember Charles Smetana, Martin Shivas, Charles Mulvihill, and Stephanie Steele. All were taken from us too early. So we ask for your presence, Lord, not only for today, but every day as these officers take care of this city. Lord, all too often society does not appreciate the calling of police officers. Lord, remind us that these officers are dedicated to protecting us. Keep them safe and vigilant. Surround them with your guiding and abiding presence. May they all return to their loved ones at the end of each shift. We pray this in your precious name. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Stover. This time you can have a seat. I'd like Mayor Slater to come up and give a few words. Thank you.
Good morning. You know, it's always an honor for me to represent the city of Troy as the mayor. But as you know, it's a special honor for me to be here today, especially this morning during this memorial service, because I have, a unique perspective. I've stood with the men and women that surround the walls here, and I've worked with 3 of the 4 that we honor this morning: Marty, Stephanie, and of course Chuck. I didn't have the opportunity to work with Charles Smetana, but everything I've heard about him, he would have been a great friend of mine. I know that. I was looking at the write-ups again this morning, as I always do, to remind me of what happened to those 4 great people. And this marks the 45th year that we lost Charles Smetana to a car accident just out front here. It'll be 15 years this summer that we lost Stephanie when she was murdered by a drunk driver. And 13 years this year, we lost Chuck.
And this is the 40th anniversary that we lost Marty on April 22nd, 1974. Just 2 weeks ago would have been the 40th year. And it's so important for us to come together every year to place a wreath for all four, so we remember the ultimate sacrifice that was given. I especially want to say thank you to former Chief John Donovan, who sent flowers on April 22nd to be placed at the shift commander's office here at the police department, recognizing the 40th year anniversary. And I believe John was the shift commander, the midnight shift commander, 40 years ago when Marty was killed. So I thank everyone here for all they do to keep this city safe. I thank their families for what they do to make sure that they come to work, and we pray that they go home safely every night. Thank you to each and every one of you that is here today. We could not be the safest city without your guidance and help every night. I feel so safe in here today. Might be the safest spot in Troy today. But I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of the City Council, the citizens, the residents, thank you so much for what you do for our city. And I noticed that we have quite a few retirees with us this morning. And I'd like to recognize them, if I could, by asking them to stand. As most cops do, they kind of sit together and they congregate together. So I see most of them sitting over here. If I could just ask them to stand, because this is the foundation that was... Okay. This is part of the foundation that was established here in Troy, and all these great officers that surround this building today can thank them for their service and what they did to bring a tremendous foundation to this city. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I worked with almost all of them that are here this morning. Joe Quatto and I go back a long ways. Ed Murphy. Okay, I won't tell how long. But again, thank you so much for coming this morning. It's a great representation of the community that would come on such a miserable morning to celebrate and remember with us this morning. Thank you so much, and thank you to the officers for all you do. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor Slater. As the mayor indicated, it was 45 years ago that Charles Smetana died on December 11th of 1969 while responding to an injury accident. He himself became involved in a crash. He was only 33 years old when he gave up his life trying to help others in need. It was 40 years ago, the police officer Marty Chivas was shot and killed on April 22nd, 1974, while investigating a burglary in progress. The suspects were prison escapees. They were in the process of a multi-state crime spree. Officer Chivas was only 24 years old. Officer Charles Mulvihill died on September 11th, 2001. He was responding to a call for service when he suffered apparent heart failure. Officer Mulvihill was a mentor and a friend to so many of those standing here today during his 10 years of service with the Troy Police Department. Police Service Aide Stephanie Steele was killed by a drunk driver on July 19th, 1999, while returning home from northern Michigan. Stephanie was a friend to many here at the Troy Police Department. In memory of Stephanie, her friends donated a flowering weeping cherry tree, which is planted just east of the main police entrance. We had wreaths placed at the Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C. for the 40th and 45th anniversary I mentioned. It's a great tribute to all the police officers across the United States that have died in the line of duty. We will now conduct a laying of the wreath ceremony. Please rise and remain standing throughout this ceremony. The laying of the wreaths will be assisted by Mayor Dane Slater, Councilman Pennington, Councilman Campbell, Councilman Henderson, and Councilwoman Huderick, and Councilman Fleming.
Detail. Attention. Present arms. Detail. Attention. Present arms. Detail. Order. Arm. Right shoulder. Arm. Mark time. Mark. Right. Turn. Forward. Mark. Order! Up! Ceremonial red.
Thank you for joining us here today as we recognize those who went before us and made the ultimate sacrifice. Please join us for our awards ceremony at the San Marino Club. Lieutenant Harden, please dismiss the formation.
Detail. Attention. Dismiss.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Gary Mayer, and I'm very proud to be the chief of this great Troy Police Department. I want to thank you all for joining us here today for the award ceremony. I'd like to introduce and recognize our dignitaries that are here. If we could just wait until I finish the list, and then we'll have an applause. I'm going to go in alphabetical order only because it's easier for me. Former Councilwoman Robin Beltramini. Robin. Councilman James Campbell. Councilman Wade Fleming. Councilman David Henderson. Councilwoman Ellen Huderick. Former Councilwoman Mary Kerwin. Our City Manager Brian Kishnick. Former Councilman Tony Pilata. From 52-4 District Court, Jill Pololian. Councilman Ed Pennington. Former Mayor Louise Schilling. Current Mayor Dane Slater. Former Mayor Gene Stein. Chaplain Paul Stover. And representing Martin Horlak's office, Mr. Ray Watts. Thank you. Also with us here today is Class 95 of the Macomb Police Academy. Cadet Geldof. I'd like to thank all the cadets for attending this today. I think it's very important that they come to see the pomp and circumstance that goes along with being a police officer, and it gives them something to aspire to. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a seat. Now, at this time, I'd like our City Manager, Brian Kishnick, to come up and say a few words. Brian?
Thank you, Chief. Welcome, everyone. What a difference a year makes. For those of you who were here last year, the Chief forgot to introduce me and got halfway through the program and somebody advised him of it, and then he called me back up here. But if that's not the Rodney Dangerfield of the award ceremony, Councilmember Henderson, as it's been called all day, is actually the Mayor Pro Tem. So, Rodney, it's okay. Secondly, I hear there's a new addition to our family in the police world and the city government, and Joe Morgan has adequately named his new son Captain. So that did not go over well, and so now I'm told he named him JP. So hopefully good things are on the rise for JP Morgan. It's not good that I had to complete that sentence, that name for you. But the other thing that I always point out, because when I was in my interview for the city manager, as I am still a new city manager and probably will be for another 20 years here, hopefully, if Jim Campbell doesn't have anything to do with it, is I remember saying, and I was reading some old literature on how we should celebrate our success and how we should do that on a regular basis, and why it's important, because this is a great city. We do have a great city council. We do have a great city staff, and we have a great police department. And you all are the reason. And it's not just the police department that's the reason. It's, if you look at the former mayors and council members who come out and take their time today for the ceremony this morning and for this award ceremony, what a great community, and the pride that everyone has, that we should celebrate our success. So give yourselves a hand for a great community, first of all. Now, as I look at the Chief's notes here, there's absolutely nothing scripted for me. So, and they, yeah, exactly. That's Andy Bridnich. I keep banging that. But anyway, they also never ask me if I have any awards to give out. So the whole year goes on, and I never am asked, or I don't give any awards out at any of these, whether it's the Fireman's Banquet. So I'm going to make it a point to have a city manager award, if it's okay with the chief, and I didn't ask him. So if I could have Sergeant Megan and Gail, school resource officer, please come up here. Sergeant Megan's not here? She's on the road. Let's not call her in. Anyway, one of the things that I realized early on as the city manager was I wanted, and I employed all the department heads to bring some cross-departmental success teams together. So not work in our silos. There's so much talent in all the different departments. I wanted to bring them together. And so I established this envisioning team. And Gail was part of that, and Sergeant Megan's part of that. And we put together the first ever, since I've been here at least, retreat for the city council and staff. And it was a huge success. And not only was the retreat a success, but it's a real testimonial to the talent that we have in the city of Troy, in the police department, and all the different departments. But Sergeant Megan and Gail were part of that team, and I was so fortunate to get to know them. I wanted to recognize them today as my award, and I actually don't have a certificate. I actually have Tim Hortons gift cards that I wanted. If you could pass that on. Thank you, Gail. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out today. Thanks for allowing me to do this introduction and welcome and celebrate our success in Troy, because it is the best community, the best city in the entire United States. Thank you.
I left the portion blank about what the city manager says because Chief Kraft, when he was leaving, told me never presume to know what the city manager is going to do, so I always leave that part blank. I also realize I have to send our policy on acceptance of gifts to the city manager, so I'll have that in his office later on today. Every sworn member of the department, regardless of rank, is a police officer first. Police officers take risks and suffer inconveniences to protect the lives, defend the civil liberties, and secure the safety of their fellow citizens. They endure risk and tolerate such inconveniences on behalf of the community of Troy that they proudly serve. Making a difference in the quality of life for our citizens is an opportunity that policing in Troy provides. Few other professions allow these risks and rewards. We're going to have a public affirmation today of a swearing in of 2 police officers. It's a powerful demonstration of our high ethical standards. This oath is a solemn pledge that they make when they sincerely intend to do what they say. They will join with current police officers, sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and myself to continue a tradition here at Troy PD of doing our best with the resources that we have. They must work with all the people that make up the parts of the Troy Police Department to be successful in providing service to the fine citizens of Troy. It is my responsibility to ensure that this oath is recited by new police officers at the Troy Police Department. Cheryl Stewart from the City Clerk's Office will conduct the individual oath of office today. Cheryl. So would Police Officer Patrick Flood and Bruce Gentry please approach the podium.
I, Bruce Gentry. I, Patrick Flood.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the mission, vision, and core values of the Troy Police Department, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the position of police officer of the City of Troy to the best of my ability.
I do.
Police Officer Patrick Flood will be getting badge number 18. Patrick is joined here by his comrades from the police academy that he graduated with and went through the training courses. He attended Grand Valley State University. He was hired as a police service aide in the city of Troy in 2001. He's worked in communications and lockup, and he entered the Macomb Police Academy in January of 2014. His wife Jennifer and his sons Quentin and Jackson will be pinning his badge on him today. They can approach. Congratulations, Patrick.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think you want to say a few words there. Next is Police Officer Bruce Gentry. He received badge number 83. Bruce is a retired Detroit police officer where he served from 2086 to 2012. While he was there, he was proudly a member of the police counter sniper team and the special response team. He left the Detroit Police Department and worked shortly for the Michigan Gaming Control Board before coming to the Troy Police Department. His wife Sarah and his 3 children, Victoria, Dominic, and Danielle, will be putting on his badge today. Stand over that side. This award ceremony is very important because it allows us to recognize the citizens and the police officers and police department employees who work so hard to make Troy a great community. Could all the active police officers please stand? The active police officers. All. These men and women proudly serve and place themselves in harm's way to protect us from those who would victimize the innocent, prey on the elderly, and abuse the young. Thank you for your service. It is also very important that we recognize those that went before us. Could all those who are retired police officers from the Detroit Police Department please stand? Thank you for your service. I would like to introduce the moderators for today. Be Captain Keith Fry, Captain Robert Redmond, and Lieutenant Frank Nastasi. It's very important that those receiving awards listen closely to Captain Redmond, because you know he doesn't like when people don't follow direction.
As I call your name, if you'll come up to my left, would be your right, and pause for a brief moment for a photo opportunity with the chief, and your award will be presented to you there. The Safe Driving Award is given to departmental personnel that have experienced no at-fault crashes for 5 consecutive years of service. Those whose names I call are asked to stand at their tables as we recognize their positive performance in this regard. Your certificates and ribbons will be delivered to you after the ceremony. Chief Gary Mayer, Sergeant Dave Quatto, Officer Russell Bragg, Officer Timothy Daniels, Officer Edward Julian, Officer James Mork, Officer Lisa Rockefeller, Officer Milton Stansberry, and Officer Gregory Stupczynski. Please stand. Thank you. Lance Cook and Don Reagan of Granite City Food and Brewery. Are they here? They're there. Please come forward. Shortly after the opening of the Granite City Food and Brewery in Troy, Mr. Lance Cook and Ms. Dawn Regan contacted the Troy Police Department and expressed a desire to take a more active role in the community. They offered to provide food for events sponsored by the Community Services section. They supported the Shop with a Cop program and 25 Troy children who were given the opportunity to do Christmas shopping by providing each child with a tasty boxed lunch from Granite City. In March, 35 volunteers enjoyed a delicious dinner from Granite City while attending a Citizens on Patrol organizational meeting. And finally, they provided the 27 attendees of the Citizens Police Academy with a wonderful dinner on the final night of the Academy. In appreciation of the generosity shown by Mr. Lance Cook and Ms. Dawn Reagan, and in recognition of their commitment to the community, we proudly present Granite City Food and Brewery with a certificate of appreciation. Ms. Nisha Bhargava. Ms. Nisha Bhargava is a 12-year-old resident of Troy. When she celebrated her birthday last August, she decided that she did not want her family and friends to purchase gifts for her. Instead, she requested that they recognize her birthday by way of a contribution to the annual Troy Police Department and VFW Holiday Food and Gift Drive. While many individuals are concerned with their own interests, needs, and wishes while ignoring those of others, Ms. Bhargava unselfishly thought of Troy residents in need of assistance. Her donation of $290 was used to purchase food that was distributed just prior to Christmas. Please join us in recognizing the generosity of Ms. Nisha Bhargava as we present her with a certificate of appreciation. Mr. Raphael Yashinsky. On December 13th, 2013, Troy High School student Raphael Yashinsky was walking home from his school bus stop. He saw an envelope in a snowbank just off the sidewalk. Raphael was very surprised to find $2,000 in large bills inside the envelope. Raphael immediately took the envelope home and asked his parents to take him to the Troy Police Department. After a press release, the owner of the cash contacted the police department. The resident indicated the envelope was inadvertently dropped while she was loading her vehicle. When asked why he felt the need to deliver the money to the police department, Raphael replied, "If it was my money, I would hope someone would have turned it in to the authorities." The Troy Police Department is very proud of the youth in our city. Please join us as we recognize the honesty of Mr. Raphael Yashinsky by presenting him with a certificate of appreciation. Terry Hart, Conrad Kruzman, William Watkins, Christine Birdsall, and Annette Baker. Please come forward. The Troy Police Department is very fortunate to have a dedicated group of citizens who volunteer their time to assist us with a variety of tasks. These individuals are members of our Citizens on Patrol program and have logged the highest number of hours this past year. They are trained volunteers who donate their time to partner with the police department to reduce crime and improve the quality of life within the city of Troy. Utilizing their own transportation, these volunteers patrol designated areas. Their sole and primary function is to observe and report any suspicious or criminal activity. They use their personal cell phones to summon police assistance. Our Citizens on Patrol have completed several hours of classroom training, including an overview of department policy, procedures, and the goals of the program. To extend our appreciation for their efforts, we proudly present Terry Hart, Conrad Kruzman, and William Watkins, Christine Birdsall, and Annette Baker, each with a civilian commendation. David Sobetsky. In June of 2013, Mr. David Sobetsky and his family were dining at the Boston Market, got that one right, on Rochester Road near Long Lake Road. From his position in the restaurant, Mr. Sobetsky observed a 2-year-old female walking on a side street toward Rochester Road. He did not see anyone else with the child. Mr. Sobetsky ran from the restaurant and caught up with the child just as she was about to enter into the high-speed traffic of Rochester Road. His rapid and decisive response clearly prevented a tragedy from occurring. To recognize his gallant efforts, we are extremely proud to present David Sobetsky with a civilian citation. Sarah Pope Starnes, Diane Stellini, and Trish Dare. Trish, I understand you're here as well. Please come forward. In 2012, the police department investigated an allegation of criminal sexual conduct by a father against his 6-year-old daughter. These types of investigations can be quite complex. Ultimately, a warrant was obtained charging the defendant with criminal sexual conduct, possession of child sexually abusive material, and use of a computer to commit a crime. The case was assigned to Oakland County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Sarah Pope Starnes. Ms. Diane Stellini, a social worker in the Victim Services section, was appointed as the victim advocate. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Pope Starnes worked diligently on this case for over a year, dealing with numerous complications that culminated in a guilty verdict after a 2-week trial. The expertise and professionalism displayed by APA's Pope Starnes was second to none. The victim advocate in this case, Ms. Diane Stellini, was in contact with the victim's mother throughout the entire process and court proceedings. To recognize the commitment, effort, and compassion exhibited by members of the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, we proudly present Sarah Pope Starnes, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, and Diane Stellini, Victim Advocate, each with a civilian commendation. Trish Dare is here to accept their reward. Peter Mena, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney, and Wendy, I know I'm gonna botch your last name here. It's thank you, Zempening. In another investigation involving an allegation of criminal sexual conduct inflicted upon a young girl, an individual was charged with 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the 1st degree. This case was assigned to Oakland County Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Peter Mena. Can I just call you Wendy? Please. Thank you. A social worker in the Victim Services section was appointed as victim advocate. A preliminary exam was scheduled and the young victim was required to testify. APA Mena was outstanding in his approach and questioning of the young victim. He made her feel comfortable, and her testimony led to the addition of 3 more counts of criminal sexual conduct. During the subsequent jury trial, the victim and her parents were again required to testify. APA Mena was quite impressive during this lengthy and extremely emotional trial. Wendy was in contact with the victim's parents throughout the entire process. She provided tremendous support for the victim and her family and was present at every court proceeding. To again recognize the commitment, effort, and compassion exhibited by members of the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office, we proudly present Peter Mena and Wendy Zempening, each with a civilian commendation. Thank you. Daniel Kojanu, he's here, and his dog. Canine is Amos, correct? Okay. Daniel Kojanu is the founder and vice president of the Canine Advocacy Program. This program was developed to provide advocacy services to child victims utilizing a highly trained dog to help alleviate the anxiety associated with being involved in the criminal justice system. Ms. Kojanu's dog, Amos, is the first advocate dog in Michigan. As a team, they provide direct support to children who have been neglected, abused, or sexually assaulted. In addition to courtroom duties, they also work with a survivor group at the Oakland County Children's Village. Mr. Kojanu and Amos assisted Detective Christine Schuler with the 2 criminal sexual conduct cases previously detailed. Detective Schuler reports that the positive impact Dan and his canine partner had on these young victims throughout the court process was invaluable. To recognize their contribution to law enforcement and to show our appreciation, we are pleased to present Daniel Kojanu and Canine Amos with the civilian commendation. Officer Daniel Backwada, Officer Joseph Mouch, Detective Lisa Rockefeller, Detective Lawrence Shear, Detective Christine Schuler, and Officer Robert Smith. At approximately 4 a.m. on October 14, 2013, resident Mark Dako awoke to the sound of car doors slamming. He investigated and observed several individuals walking towards St. Joseph's Chaldean Church on Big Beaver Road, while one remained in a vehicle. He notified the police department of the suspicious activity. When officers responded, they observed 3 individuals exit the main church building and run into a neighboring residential area. The suspect in the vehicle was arrested, and a canine track led to the arrest of a second suspect who was found hiding in the woods. Ultimately, the investigation resulted in the identification and arrest of the other 2 suspects. The investigation revealed that the suspects had been interrupted while breaking into the church and stealing cash from the donation boxes. These same individuals had previously attacked several other churches in Troy and Macomb County. To recognize the outstanding job performed by responding and investigating officers, it is with pride that we present Officer Daniel Backleta, Officer Joseph Mouch, Detective Lisa Rockefeller, Detective Lawrence Scheer, Detective Christine Schuler, and Officer Robert Smith, each with the Department Commendation. Police Service Aide Christopher O'Brien, please come forward. Just after midnight on July 1st, 2013, the communications section received a report of a truck fire on I-75 near Big Beaver Road. PSA O'Brien quickly dispatched and coordinated actions with the Troy Fire Department, Michigan State Police, and the Michigan Department of Transportation. He also completed a call-out of the Southeast Oakland County Crash Investigation Team, as well as Alliance Mobile Health. PSA O'Brien handled his duties exceptionally well in a calm and organized manner. To recognize his teamwork, confidence in his ability, and attention to detail, we proudly present Police Service Aide Christopher O'Brien with a departmental commendation.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lieutenant Frank Nastasi. It's my honor to announce the next set of award recipients. I'd like to ask Sergeant Dave Quado, Detective Lisa Rockefeller, Detective Christine Schuler, Detective Ryan Whiteside, from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, Deputy Ryan Rathbrun, and also Deputy Jason Roop. From Bloomfield Township PD, Officer Matthew Hill, and also Officer Tim Newsom. In July of 2013, at approximately 3:40 a.m., Troy officers responded to a report of a home invasion on Riverton and found that entry was gained through a bedroom window. Officer Brazel and his K-9 Tico were attempting to track when a resident on a nearby street called, advising that an unknown subject was knocking on her door, something like that, and ringing a doorbell. A search of the area ensued, and officers found fresh footprints and a suspicious vehicle. Communication section personnel continued to receive calls from residents with sightings of suspicious individuals. Approximately 2 hours later, a resident on Basswood awoke to a suspect in their bedroom, rummaging through their belongings. The suspect fled, and officers were involved in a foot pursuit. For the next hour, Troy officers chased the suspect in the rain, through wooded areas, and with the suspect escaping once by swimming across a swollen creek. They were assisted by officers from the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, Madison Heights PD, and also Bloomfield Township. The suspect was apprehended at approximately 7 a.m., hiding under a deck of a residence. He was taken into custody without further incident. Investigators located evidence linking the suspect with his brother to a multitude of home invasions and larcenies from automobiles in Troy and the surrounding communities. In recognition of their exemplary effort in connection with this incident, the Troy Police Department proudly presents these individuals with the departmental commendation. Next, I'd like to call up Sergeant Andrew Satterfield, Officer Brandon Parker, Officer Jeff Strong, and Officer Brian Warzeka. Apparently I got to be louder. On August 2013, Troy officers were dispatched to a residence to check on the welfare of a female who had reported a domestic assault. When officers arrived on scene, they were met by a male who refused to allow them to enter the home. He stated that his wife was all fine. Officers could immediately detect a strong odor of fresh marijuana in the air and became suspicious. While checking the perimeter of the home, they observed a bright light emanating from a basement window that was partially covered with fabric. They also observed numerous marijuana plants. Officers eventually made contact with the female, and it was determined that there was no physical assault. When the officers inquired about the marijuana plants, both residents produced expired medical marijuana cards. When the resident further refused entry into the home, a search warrant was obtained. Over 40 marijuana plants were confiscated, along with drugs and other paraphernalia. For their perseverance and dedication to duty, we are pleased to present these individuals, each with a departmental commendation. Next, I'd like to call up Detective Tim Daniels, Detective Dan Langben, Detective Larry Shearer, from Auburn Hills, Detective Jeremy Peters, Bloomfield Township PD, Brian Kashnick, Oakland County Sheriff Jason Delbeck, also from Oakland County Sheriff's Patrick Weir, from Farmington Hills PD, Paulo Hernandez, and also from Farmington Hills, Madeline Vaughn. In February of 2013, Troy, Rochester Hills, and other surrounding communities had experienced a significant number of home invasions. These home invasions were occurring primarily in the evening hours. Officers of the Special Investigations Unit worked together with officers assigned to the South Oakland Narcotics Intelligence Consortium and other area departments on this case. A possible suspect was identified. His vehicle matched this description given by witnesses. After hours of surveillance on March 26, 2013, the suspect was arrested for committing a home invasion in Rochester Hills. He was connected to 15 to 20 home invasions in Troy, Rochester, Rochester Hills, Novi, West Bloomfield, and Shelby Township. A search of his vehicle and residence recovered property that took over 100 pages to itemize. The suspect was a parolee for similar crimes that were committed in California. The cooperative efforts displayed by all the agencies is most noteworthy. In recognition for their determined effort and dedication to duty, we are proud to award these individuals with the departmental commendation.
The surveillance guys had to go because a target was moving. That's why they're not here. So if you could mention that.
Okay. I was just made aware that some of the surveillance personnel had a target they had to go address, so they had to leave from here. So we'll make sure they get their awards. Next, I'd like to call up, I don't know if he's here. Is LaMilda here, or did he leave? No, he left. Okay. He left. Detective Russ Bragg, Detective Tim Daniels, and Detective Dan Langben. They all left too. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Throw an arm up if you're here. Jeremy Peters, Ed Julian, Kate Ratzka, and Greg Stopczynski. We've got a few. Thank you. On April 23rd, 2013, patrol officers were dispatched to the Red Roof Inn for a domestic issue. During that domestic investigation, Sergeant Lemilza observed suspicious activity from a different room. He contacted Officer Julian, Ratzka, and Stopczynski of the Directed Patrol Unit. Those officers contacted management of the Red Roof Inn and determined that one of the occupants was wanted for a probation violation involving the manufacture and delivery of methamphetamine. During the course of the next several hours, the DPU conducted intense surveillance of rooms and observed individuals coming and going. That activity was indicative of methamphetamine narcotic trafficking. DPU requested the assistance of SIU and our criminal intelligence units. A search warrant was obtained and executed. A clandestine meth lab was discovered. Numerous items were seized, including methamphetamine, narcotic paraphernalia, cooking items, smoking pipes, and computers and cash. Through the cooperation of the Red Roof Inn and drug operation that would have disturbed the quality of life in Troy was ultimately dismantled. We applaud the diligence and efforts displayed by our special operation units, and it is with pride that we present these individuals with the Merit Service Award. Next, I'd like to call up Sergeant Scott Lemilza, which I think had left, and Sergeant Dave Quado. Nope, Scott is here. Thank you. In August of 2013, there were numerous thefts reported from a recycling center on Coolidge Highway. Officer Morgan was patrolling in the area when he noticed a suspicious vehicle in an adjacent parking lot. His investigation determined that the vehicle had been reported stolen from Roseville. His investigation also revealed a possible suspect who had previously worked at the recycling center but had been terminated for theft. Officer Morgan, assisted by Sergeants Georgie, Gobler, Lemilza, Novak, and Quado, and also Officers Barrows, Brazel, McWilliams, Minton, Mullenbeck set up a surveillance and located the suspect and several $100s in just stolen materials. The suspect was arrested without incident and warrants were issued for breaking and entry and larceny. In recognition of this outstanding performance of duty and diligence to found and patrol activities, that was the Merit Service Award for Officer Morgan. And then also, in appreciation for their support, we present the remaining individuals with a departmental commendation. Next, I'd like to call up Lieutenant Russell Harden, Officer Nkrumah Hudson, Officer Brandon Parker, Officer Kate Rathska, Officer Greg Stopchinski, and Officer Brian Warzeka. On March 5th, 2014, at approximately 5:40 p.m., Troy officers were dispatched to an armed robbery at Kelly's Market at 6037 Rochester Road. A male subject wearing a mask pointed a gun at the store clerk and stated, quote, "Give me all of your money." The suspect fled from the store northbound on foot. Officer Adam Sinuko and K9 Kilo were the first on the scene and they prepared for the trap. With the assistance from Lieutenant Harden and Officers Meisinger, Parker, Ratzka, and Stopchinski, a perimeter was established. Meanwhile, Sergeant Lehman and Officer Hudson and Warzeka interviewed the store and clerk witnesses. The K9 tracked over walls, fences, and through the residential neighborhood, which was not far from the robbery. After search warrant was obtained, the clothing, backpack, airsoft gun, and money were all recovered in the house, and 4 subjects were taken into custody. One of the individuals ultimately admitted to the robbery and another robbery that occurred 2 days earlier at the Speedway gas station on Maple and Stevenson. This incident was successful because everyone involved worked as a team. They stayed on task until they tracked down and apprehended the suspects. In recognition for the successful track and also for the department accommodation is presented to each of the following individuals for the essential role in this incident. I'd like to call up Officer Patrick Flood and Police Service Aide Fred Robinson. The impound management team was formed January 2013. This team successfully absorbed the impound responsibilities into their day-to-day activities while assigned to the communications and lockup sections. These individuals have formulated a system that allowed them to effectively communicate with the various tow companies that operate in Troy. They use an impound team email, voicemail, portable file cabinets, portable scanners, and checklists to accomplish the numerous tasks associated with the impound vehicles. The team was accomplished this assignment by utilizing very little overtime. Each member of this team volunteered for these additional duties. They have completed all work without delay or complaint and with very little supervision. To recognize their dedication to duty, it is with pride that we present the following individuals with the department unit citation. Next, I'd like to call up Officer Greg Stopchinski, Officer Ed Julian, and Officer Kate Ratzka. The Directed Patrol Unit is comprised of these 3 dedicated and motivated officers who operate cohesively. The responsibility of the DPU is to solve problems. Over the past year, Officer Stopchinski, Julian, and Ratzka have performed their duties with professionalism and excellence. There are 5 specific incidents that warrant the presentation of a unit citation. Here are some of the highlights of their outstanding work. In late summer of 2013, residents of the Somerset Apartments were experiencing break-ins in their basement storage units and assorted items were being stolen. The task was assigned to DPU and they developed a suspect and initiated surveillance. On the second day of the surveillance, they witnessed the suspect break into a storage unit and steal a set of golf clubs. He was arrested without incident. The next one occurred October of 2013. DPU was working with our Special Investigations Unit on surveillance of a home invasion suspect. It was believed that the individual was responsible for multiple home invasions in Troy and other surrounding cities. DPU and SIU witnessed the suspect break into a Warren residence and remove many items. He was arrested without incident and turned over to Warren PD. Also, in October of 2013, a sexual predator was preying on women in Troy, Rochester Hills, and Sterling Heights. Through an exhaustive investigation by personnel from all involved departments, a suspect was developed and arrested. Throughout the investigation, DPU played an integral role in assisting with the tips, the elimination of suspects in vehicles, plain code patrols, and surveillance, and ultimately the actual surveillance of the suspect himself. Next, over the course of several months, members of our DPU received specialized training provided by the FBI regarding human trafficking and exploitation, specifically regarding the possible illegal operating procedures at massage facilities. Working in conjunction with the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the City of Troy Legal and Building Departments, DPU executed search warrants and inspected 9 establishments over a 2-day period, which resulted in 7 Troy facilities receiving multiple ordinance and code violations. This was a formidable challenge for the DPU, and their hard work and dedication are appreciated by the community. Last but not least, in March of this year, the DPU was investigating a narcotics activity tip involving a resident. During surveillance, they observed the sale of marijuana in an apartment parking lot. They obtained it and executed a search warrant of the suspect's residence. Ultimately, the suspect was arrested, and narcotics and related equipment and a handgun were all seized. Several items believed to have been purchased from the proceeds of narcotics sales were confiscated and also forfeited. It is with pride that we present these officers with the departmental unit citation.
Thank God I get to come up here and do this. That was rough. Okay, the following people, long list. Civilian citation for merit service awards. Nobody ever says they can't hear me. But. Ken Frazee, Detective Jeremy Peters, Detective Brian Kashik, Sergeant Andy Satterfield, Officer Jason Clark, Officer David Isham, Officer Berna Yakari, Captain Keith Fry, Lieutenant Chris Stout, Sergeant Robert Wolf, Detective Michelle Cooney, Detective Patrick Diaski, Detective Dan Langben, Detective Jim Mork, Detective Lisa Rockefeller, Detective Larry Shear, Detective Christine Schuler, Detective Ryan Whiteside, and Administrative Assistant Teresa Hope, and anybody else that wants. On July 29, 2012, the communications section received a call from a resident reporting the disappearance of his father, Patrick Mike Sr. Countless people assisted in this investigation. Last year, many of those individuals who were involved with the search in Montrose received an award. Now that the case is closed, this year we would like to recognize the individuals who were involved in the prosecution of this case. Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Ken Frazee was assigned to this homicide case. He performed his duties with the utmost professionalism. More than 30 search warrants were obtained and executed. He played a vital role in the coordination of forensic DNA analysis and courtroom preparations. Mr. Frazee's professionalism and dedication reflects positively upon the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. Through his diligent effort, a strong case was presented for prosecution, which ultimately resulted in the defendant pleading guilty to second-degree homicide. We are pleased to recognize the professionalism and dedication of Kenneth Frazee, Assistant Prosecuting Attorney with civilian citation. Special investigation units are comprised of 1 sergeant and 2 officers from Troy, as well as an officer from the Auburn Hills Police Department and the Bloomfield Township Police Department. The assistance provided by Detectives Peters and Kashnik during the homicide investigation was exemplary. This investigation required the execution of multiple search warrants, covert surveillance, and intensive searches in the wooded areas of farmlands of a small town of Montrose. This investigation was a true team effort, with all members performing without complaint. For their efforts in this high-profile case, we proudly present the Merit Service Award to Detective Jeremy Peters and Detective Brian Kashik. These individuals are members of our evidence technician unit, that being Sergeant Andy Satterfield, Officer Jason Clark, Officer Dave Pesha, and Officer Brenna Yankari. They perform their services with the highest degree of professional excellence. Crime scene processing for homicide investigations is tenuous and requires a meticulous and methodical approach.
Their outstanding work product undoubtedly assisted in the successful prosecution of this heinous offense. Troy Police Department evidence technicians have established a well-deserved professional reputation among area departments. We commend them for their excellence and proudly bestow a departmental unit citation on those individuals. And it goes on. These individuals, Captain Fry, Lieutenant Stout, Sergeant Wolf, Detective Cooney, Detective Diaski, Detective Bork, Detective Rockefeller, Detective Shear, Detective Schuler, Detective Whiteside, and Administrative Assistant Teresa Hope. These individuals of the Criminal Investigation Section conducted an exemplary homicide investigation, and they've done a great job in that. There's a great deal of pride that we present each of those following individuals with a department unit citation also. I think I covered everybody. Okay. Sergeant Scott Smith, Officer Frank Schuler, Officer Hudson, Officer Julian, Officer Raska, Officer Stopsinski. Just after 8 p.m. in early March of this year, Clawson Police Department officers responded to a domestic incident where a male suspect had armed himself with a gun. His wife and children had safely fled the residence. As 4 Clawson officers approached the house, the male resident opened fire on them. Gunfire was exchanged as the resident was seen fleeing to the rear of the house. He refused to answer the telephone and respond to officers' attempts to verbally contact him. Assistance was requested from the Troy Police Department as the 4 Clawson officers were pinned down at various locations around the residence and were unable to move. Sergeant Scott Smith coordinated a response, established a command post, directed that a perimeter be established, and sealed off the area. Officer Frank Schuler was directed by Sergeant Smith to do the following: formulate a safe approach to the neighbor's residence where the wife and children had fled, interview the suspect's wife, and map out the interior of the suspect's residence for use by the Oakland County Special Response Team. Officer Schuler handled all of his duties with professionalism and accuracy. He eventually assisted with the extrication of the wife and children. Officer Giordano, Hudson, Julian, Meisner, Morgan, Rosca, Sanuko, and Stopsinski assisted in this incident by establishing and maintaining the perimeter positions. Sergeant Smith took command of a very volatile incident. To recognize his exemplary efforts in gathering pertinent intelligence data and developing a response plan, we proudly present him with a departmental citation. All responding officers played an important role. It is with pride that we recognize their professional excellence and present Officer Frank Schuler with the Merit Service Award, and Officer Hudson, Officer Julian, Officer Raska, and Officer Stopsinski with a departmental commendation. Officer Greg Stopsinski. Just stay up here, Greg. Officer Stopsinski joined the Troy Police Department in 2008. He was assigned to Road Patrol from 2000 until 2010, where he transferred to the Directed Patrol Unit. For the past 3 years, Greg has led the Directed Patrol Unit. He's acting as a mentor and teacher. He has embraced this difficult assignment with incredible grace, dignity, and professionalism. Working with Officer Julian and Officer Raska, Officer Stopsinski has created an extremely cohesive unit. On a daily basis, he plans the unit's direction, meets with our criminal intelligence unit, monitors the previous day's criminal activity and crime trends. He compiles data and reports and makes contact with his supervisor on a continuous basis. Officer Stopsinski consistently displays a high level of professionalism, which is matched by few. In recognition of his dedication and diligence to our department, we proudly present Officer Greg Stopsinski with a departmental citation. Analyst Planner Jeff Oberski. This is a Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishment. Civilian employee Jeff Oberski has been chosen to receive one of the Chief's Awards for Outstanding Accomplishments for 2013. Jeff has been hired by the city of Troy in November 1989 and transferred over to the police department in July 2011. And no, he can't go back to the city. He stays here. Jeff's responsibilities include conducting background investigations of applicants and businesses for various permits and licenses, including liquor licenses, gun permits, solicitor permits, smoking lounge licenses, and massage establishment permits. The laws governing these permits and licenses are constantly changing. Jeff's position requires that he remains up to date with the licensing regulations and requirements of the state of Michigan and disseminating that information through his chain of command. Jeff's work ethic is second to none. After working with him for a while, that is exactly how it is. He is always prompt for duty. He sets to his work as soon as he sits at his workstation. His work is extremely thorough in every aspect of his job, and he never hesitates to accept additional work, and he's going to get more, that require immediate attention. He can always be relied upon to handle every assignment with accuracy and timeliness. In recognition of his dedication to duty and exemplary work ethic, we are pleased to present Jeff Oberski with the Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishment. Thank you, Jeff. Another award for Chief's Outstanding Accomplishment, Sergeant Andy Breitnich. Sergeant Breitnich is the second recipient of the Chief's Award for 2013. He began his career in January 1991, was promoted to sergeant in March 2012. Currently, he is in charge of Community Services Section and oversees all their programs. Every year, Sergeant Breitnich takes the lead for the annual food and gift drive, which provides holiday assistance to families in Troy. The generosity from Troy businesses and individuals is overwhelming, and many families enjoy a Christmas due to this program. Community Service Section also sponsors several community events such as Safety Bowl, where more than 1,000 elementary schools acting as safety patrol squad members are rewarded with a day of bowling, and Shop with a Cop, where 25 deserving Troy children have the opportunity to do Christmas shopping for their families. He also oversees the Citizens Patrol volunteer program. Those citizens on patrol are trained and donate their time in an effort to reduce crime and improve the overall quality of life within Troy by driving around the city in their own vehicles, spending their own time, and giving us calls when they see something suspicious. Andy is also our public information officer, representing Troy PD with the newspapers, radio, and television stations. We are proud to present Andy with the Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments. Andy, you want to come up here and read it out? Another Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments, Sergeant Scott Smith. Sergeant Smith is assigned to the Operations Division, currently volunteered to go back to the midnight shift, where he serves as a supervisor. He's very happy that he's there. Sergeant Smith has proven to be an outstanding leader. His superiors can count on him to identify and remove barriers impeding his officers in order to improve the working environment. Scott possesses the intestinal fortitude to challenge up the chain of command when it is warranted, and the solemn dignity to follow orders when a final decision has been made. He has been instrumental over the past year in developing and administering the field officer training program. He takes a personal interest in each and every new officer hired and works to ensure they are receiving the proper training while promptly addressing all issues. One building-related task presented to Scott was the procurement and maintenance of our physical fitness equipment. True to his character, Scott ensures that the existing equipment is safe for officers to use and has obtained new items and repairs not available. He is well respected by his subordinates. He's well respected by his superiors. He can always be relied upon to complete even the most difficult task. He has proven that he can handle and control extremely complex scenes and effectively utilize all available resources. We are proud to present him with the Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments. This is falling apart. Police Service Aide Chris O'Brien. Okay. We're having a book failure up here. It's kind of falling apart, so we're trying to clean up that. Police Service Aide Chris O'Brien has been selected as the 2013 Non-Sworn Employee of the Year. It's a great accomplishment, Chris. Congratulations. He was hired in 2008 and has worked in both our communications and lockup sections. His primary assignment for the past few years has been in communications. Chris has been a communications training officer for over a year. In that capacity, he has served as a primary trainer for several new hirees who successfully completed the program. His supervisors indicate that he shows incredible dedication to the program. He exhibits a meticulous attention to detail and possesses an ability to pass this on to his recruits. PSA O'Brien has been recognized many times for his performance in stressful situations involving officer safety and caller victim well-being. His ability to multitask, recognize priorities, obtain vital information, calm emotionally charged situations, and coordinate emergency responses are key skills that his supervisors indicate Chris displays on a daily basis. During this past year, PSA O'Brien exhibited exemplary service which often went above and beyond and displayed his incredible work ethic. It is with great pride to present Police Service Aide Chris O'Brien with the 2013 Non-Sworn Employee of the Year Award. Sergeant Andy Satterfield for a Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments. Sergeant Andy Satterfield is the third recipient of the Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments in 2013. He hired in 1997, was promoted to sergeant in March 2012. Andy currently is on the afternoon shift, working in the Operations Division. He is one of the busiest sergeants in our department. In addition to his responsibilities as a shift supervisor, he oversees our tactical support team, the evidence technician unit, and he is a commander of the Honor Guard. His duties with regard to these specialized teams include budget management, equipment procurement, training coordination, and special event response. Andy also acts as a background investigator and oversees our department's stock of chemical munitions. In early 2013, Sergeant Satterfield was tasked with coordinating and leading a training presentation for active shooter incidents in schools. Members of the Troy School District attended this training held at Walsh College. He received praise for those efforts. Last September, Andy coordinated tabletop tactical exercises for our department command staff. His presentation was very well received and it generated in-depth discussions regarding a response to tactical situations. We are very pleased to present Sergeant Andy Satterfield with the Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments. Sergeant Scott Smith. Chief's Award for Outstanding Accomplishments. Good job. Once again, I apologize for that. Police Officer of the Year, Officer Milton Stansberry. Officer Stansberry has been selected as a Troy Police Officer of the Year for 2013. He was chosen for this prestigious award as a result of his exceptional abilities, strong commitment to providing excellent police service, and personal dedication to helping others. He was hired by the Troy Police Department in January 1991. In the last 23 years, Officer Stansberry has developed significant expertise in traffic and tactical matters and has used this knowledge to serve the citizens of Troy well. He is widely recognized for his high level of professionalism and outstanding character. He is a leader in the area of commercial motor vehicle traffic law enforcement. He is one of only 38 officers in the state of Michigan to be certified as a motor carrier officer. He works diligently every shift to enforce the commercial motor vehicle law and prevent the overweight trucks from further damaging our roads. Officer Stansberry has been a member of the tactical support team since 1992. He is extremely knowledgeable about ballistics and is the go-to authority regarding weapons for shooting. He teaches the sniper class at the Macomb Police Academy and serves there as a mentor. He has been a long-standing member of the Troy PD pistol team. He has been described as the anchor of the team and the top shot. Our pistol team has won the state championship for 10 consecutive years in the state of Michigan. As an accident investigator, Officer Stansberry investigated 196 traffic crashes and wrote 530 tickets in 2013. It is not unusual for individuals involved in traffic crashes to contact our department to pass along their gratitude for his investigatory work. He adjusts his work schedule to focus attention to areas where motorists are failing to stop for school buses and other incidents such as that. In other words, he changes his time, his own personal time, to come work for us and changes hours to help out. Officer Stansbury is responsible for the training and equipping of crossing guards as well as assisting in their hiring process. In addition, he is a firearms instructor and he is the department armor. This selection recognizes Milt Stansbury's day-to-day performance and professionalism. The Troy Police Department is proud to recognize all these achievements in selecting him as our Officer of the Year. Last award, Command Officer of the Year Award, Sergeant Robert Wolf. You can see that he wanted you all to know it by the sign on the back wall he put up. Sergeant Wolf began his career with the Troy Police Department in May of 1995 and was promoted to sergeant in 2008. Throughout his career, he has been assigned to Road Patrol, the Direct Patrol Unit, the Evidence Technicians Unit, the Criminal Intelligence Unit, and the Criminal Investigation Section. Just can't keep a job. In his current position, Sergeant Wolf oversees the investigative team and the Criminal Intelligence Unit. Due to reductions in staffing levels, the number of investigators was reduced from 13 to 7. This reduction necessitated an innovative approach to all investigations. All detectives were required to be well-rounded and able to work together on all types of criminal matters. Sergeant Wolf fosters a team approach and leads by example. His strong work ethic and positive attitude are apparent every day and encourages his staff to possess the same attributes. He maintains a high level of professionalism and dedication and cultivates the same qualities in those that he supervises. His subordinates report that his words of encouragement or praise are appreciated and they work hard each and every day. Our criminal investigation section closed 2 homicide investigations in 2013. Sergeant Wolf was actively involved in both of these cases by way of interviews, investigation, and case presentation. He displayed leadership, dedication, and commitment during the long investigation of both of these cases. Both defendants ultimately pled guilty to second-degree murder and are serving lengthy prison sentences. In his 19 years with the department, Sergeant Wolf has demonstrated dedication and integrity that has earned him respect of his peers, the employees that work for him, and the countless members of the community he serves on a daily basis. In the recommendations that were received for Robert to receive this award, he was consistently described as a true professional and leader whose work ethic is to be emulated. He is truly a credit to Troy Police Department, and we proudly present him with the 2013 Command Officer Year Award.
We have a saying in the police department that when people stop messing with you is when you know you're in trouble. And the sign back there that says Robert is the 2014 Command Officer of the Year with all the flashing lights on it is a true tribute to the fact that his people really like him and he's not in trouble. Milt has indicated to me he's going to do a shooting demonstration, show off his shooting skills. Afterwards, we're looking for somebody to put a grape on their head that he can shoot off at 40 yards, I think you said was that shot. So we're looking for any volunteers for that, and you have to be over 18 in order to do that, kids. So I'd like to thank our moderators here, Captain Keith Fry, Captain Robert Redmond, Lieutenant Frank Nastasi. They did a very good job. Thanks, guys. And I won't be able to get everybody, but there's a lot of people that are behind the scenes that do a lot of work to make this happen. Foremost with that is Terry Colucci, Pat Gladys, Jessica Morse, Lisa Firth, Paula Bratto, Ken Adams, Chris Hill, and Teresa Hope. Thank you all. It's our privilege to recognize all of the citizens that have helped us here at Troy PD. I want to thank you all for helping us recognize all of our employees who work so hard to make Troy a safe community. Thank you very much. I hope you can stay and socialize a little bit. Thanks. Have a good day.